Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here tonight to do our Big Fuss Show, Week 38, Season 2.
Can I please have your attention?
There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
Hey guys, welcome back in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. I've got John Hammonds on here with me tonight. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
So we are here tonight to do our little version here of the Big Fuss Show. This is where we talk about all different kinds of topics of college sports. And there is all kinds of stuff going on, especially in the Kentucky world. We got two teams trying to build rosters and out of the transfer portal, and two new coaches on the women's and men's side. So there is a ton to kind of get to and a ton to talk about. But before we do, Hammonds, our Facebook page is really, really growing, man.
It is, man. It's growing every day. So
yeah, man, we want to thank you guys for helping us grow. And our Facebook page is now over 2,000. We are approaching 2,100, and you can help support us by sending us stars on reels and content like this. Sending stars helps us earn money so we can continue to make more content like this. Also, you can subscribe. We have a subscribers page now, College SportsCast subscriber page. It's 99 cents a month. And I am posting on that as well and trying to give a little bit of information there as well. So you can do either one of those to help support us off of Facebook. We also are on YouTube as well. And I'll start the show off talking about that. Man, I'm going to tell you, John, there is some crazy stuff going on in the transfer portal. I mean, let's just start with that. I want to start with this. Do you think the college basketball world, you people hear, people say, well, they need to get a hold of it and they need to do something about the transfer portal and the NIL and all this stuff. Do you think there's anything they can really do about it, or are we far beyond doing something about it?
I think you said it on the ladder. Like, right now it's like the Wild Wild West. You got guys dropping bags for people. I've heard from different people that I talked to that, the other day I got a message that said that a freshman even on Division II level was asking a freshman, not a great player, just a regular guy, a deaf piece. He's asking for like $1.2 million in NIL money. And
yeah, I mean,
and these small schools are not going to be able to benefit like the bigger schools, the Power 5 schools like Kentucky, Arkansas, and whatnot. But we're at a place in college athletics now where this is going to be the norm every single year. You're going to have guys jumping in and out of the portal every year. You're going to have the NIL deals happening.
But my question to you, Hammonds, is this sustainable?
If it's not, you've seen the end of college athletics, in all honesty.
Because, I mean, even you take a program like Kansas or Duke or Kentucky or North Carolina, okay? You take even the top-notch level programs.
Mm-hmm.
If they have to go out in the portal and pick up 8 or 10 players, at $1 to $2 million a piece just to fill the team. I mean, is that is that sustainable? Can they do that?
Well, I'll take it back to what I said. What was it, a week or two ago on our show? I said we're turning into the MLB, NFL free agency, where we're basically doing a salary cap without the salary cap, basically.
Yeah,
And what you have is you got some teams that are chasing these guys, wanting a bag. You know, I'll give you the example: the whole John L. Davis thing from FAU. You know, everybody said, well, it was with Houston. Then it went from Houston to Kansas, or not Kansas, Kentucky, from Kentucky to Arkansas. And some even said that it's to drive up the price, to get them to move up money to get him. And I think what you're seeing in this new day and age with the NIL and portal is that guys are trying to drive up the prices of some of these certain teams to get a deal. And at the end of the day, it's turned in. What's up, Brandon? It's turned into a free agency, free for all, wild, wild west thing. Like there's no rules.
Is there anything that can be done about it at this point?
Well, the only people that's going to be able to really step in, I don't think the NCAA really can step in. I think it's going to have to be the commissioners and people that are over some of these schools, like some of these athletic directors, commissioners, people that are over the college athletics in their department, because NCAA is not going to put their hands in this. I don't think.
I don't think the NCAA can. They've been basically through the court system. They have been just don't have any power to do anything about any of this. So my thing is this: twofold. One is this is ramped up year after year after year after year, and this year we are talking $1 to $2 million a piece for a lot of these players. Wait a second. Imagine what this is going to be 3 years from now.
Well, you said it the other night. You even said it the other night. You said, a top 50 player wanted 1.2 million. Well, what would a top 5 guy want?
Right.
3 million?
Are we getting to a point 3 years from now that the top 10 guys are asking for 5 million a piece?
This is
talking
the new
about
age.
Basketball here, guys. We're not talking about football. Like football's the moneymaker. Basketball, outside of the NCAA tournament, it's not really the big moneymakers that it used to be.
Mm-mm.
And then my second point that I was going to make is this: if it's going to get to that kind of level where we're talking $4, $5, $10 million that these kids are asking for to come play for a school, the only way I see to fix that is to establish them as employees
of the university.
Of the universities. That's the only way I see.
Well,
if you do that, they can unionize.
Last week, and I think you're going to see some of that maybe eventually. And I think last week the whole COVID thing changes next year, where the extra year that's over with. So there'll be they'll get the transfer, but they won't have that extra year like they would this year. So that's going to knock some of that out of the way. But at the end of the day, I told a guy today, listen, it's the wild, wild west, man. Anything goes, no holds barred. There was a kid, I don't know, I seen it on a thing that there was a kid that he had been in college. He had like 5 different teams, I think. And what are we doing, y'all? Like, I mean, and I don't hate that kids are trying to get their NIL. I don't hate that kids are wanting their likeness, but there's a way to handle this and there's a way to go about it. And we'll get into it in a minute with the Jaden Quaintance thing. Like, the most biggest thing I've ever seen. Like, it's the craziest stuff I've ever witnessed in college athletics, that what's going on behind those things. Especially with all that's going on with his dad and all the rumors that are out there about him with the whole Arkansas, Louisville thing in Kentucky. So,
well, I mean, let's dig into the whole Jerry Jones and Arkansas. And while we're talking about this, I mean, just for a second,
are you going to get some chicken? I heard you was on the new Tyson brand chicken.
I mean, just for a second here, even a guy who says he's going to double everything, okay, even a guy like that, if you have to go out like Arkansas does this year and get 8 or 10 guys out of the portal to build a team, because they literally had 0, okay?
Yeah, they got 2. I think they got 2 now, I think.
Yeah, so let's say they got to get 10 to 12 guys.
Actually, no, they got 3. They got that one extra one from Arkansas, I think. He's still there.
But what I'm saying, let's say they got to get 10 or 12 guys out of the portal. If they're willing to just going right now, then you're talking $2 to $3 million per each guy. So are they really willing to spend $25 to $30 million to have a roster? Because that's what it would take.
Yep. Well, and to back off your point, the whole thing where if Kentucky gets a guy, Arkansas will double it. I don't think some of that might be far-fetched to what was said this morning by insiders and people. I don't believe some of that, but I do believe that there's some things happening behind the scenes in that regard that is true. But to think that, Calipari would sabotage the University of Kentucky and Jerry Jones would do the same. I don't necessarily believe that, but it wouldn't shock me if it did happen.
Oh, I'm not even, I actually think that they would do it if they could. What I'm talking about is the value and the market value that you're creating and what you are doing. If you do that now, then next year you're going to have to pay $1 million, $2 million more per player, because you are the ones that are upping the market value.
You're going to have to get some more Tyson chicken. I mean, it's just
and it's just going to escalate even that much further until something has to be done, and you have to put them as employees where they can unionize, and then you can start doing some salary caps and some negotiations and things of that nature.
It's reached a point of no return right now. I mean, at this point in athletics.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's absolutely unreal what is going on in college athletics. I never thought I would see a day like, all my life up till 5 years ago, pay for play was illegal. Like, you couldn't do that. Will Wade just got hammered.
Let's be honest. That people were
2 or 3 years ago, 2 years before that, he was paying players.
Let's be honest, though. They was doing deals under the table back in the 90s. Like, come on now. Like, they was doing stuff.
I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but it was controlled, where now it's just, like you said, players that are in the hundreds or in the 2000s or whatever are demanding money just to go play somewhere. And you can't, there's no way feasible that you can keep up with that in college athletics. You just can't do that. I mean, I just don't see how that could ever be sustained. I really don't. Under any circumstance.
Great move, Chris. He said, "What do you think? What do you make with Coach Byington manning his 7th in the portal for Vanderbilt?" Vanderbilt made an unbelievable move with that move. That he's going to have Vanderbilt turned around very quickly with what he's bringing to the table there in Nashville. Vanderbilt will be a better team next year, I think. So Vanderbilt's going to have their ducks in a row. I think they made a great hire in that department.
All right, so let's get to some Kentucky stuff. I know we got some guys on here, so let's get to some Kentucky stuff. I want to start, John, by saying this, and talking about the possibility the associate head coach from Baylor, Alvin Brooks III.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start by talking about that. It's a possible positive news that's going on with Kentucky. And the news was today that he was in Lexington. I never seen any confirmation on that. So I don't know if you ever seen any confirmation on it.
I just know that they had a picture on Twitter or something where it said wheels up. So basically he was just going to Lexington. I'm guessing. And I'm going to be frank with this one. This will be a great hire. I know people are, they had Billy Gillespie tied to it, but that was his dad. His dad is the coach at Lamar now. He was under Gillespie when he was here in Lexington, but he had VJ Edgecombe. He was his recruiter. He had Jacoby Walters. There's a chance. Yeah, and there's a chance that Keegan Brown. I think he's recruiting Keegan Brown down there. He could possibly be a Kentucky guy if he comes to Lexington. I'm going to tell you something. This hire with Jason Hart and possibly Coach Brooks, I think it will change things around this place. It will cause a lot of uneasiness about it, I think, from the hire. And I agree with you, Anthony. He wasn't a good fit. And at the same time, I just think the Jason Hart thing with his connections with the NBA, where he's a 10-year vet, played at Syracuse, played with the Bucks. I think that he's going to do a really good job here, and I think he's going to be able to pull some of these guys that, that Kentucky needs and Kentucky can bring to the program and succeed.
Yeah, the thing that I'm going to sit here and say is for the past 3 years, he has brought a McDonald's All-American to Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And Baylor is a private Christian school. Okay.
Right. Yep.
They're not on the same level as a Kentucky. They're just not. And he has been Scott Drew's right-hand man for the last 8 years. And he's brought in some 5-star McDonald's All-American talent to Baylor. If Mark Pope can sign him to be his right-hand man, I think that is one hell of a hire, in my opinion.
A home run hire. At this stage, late in I would say it's late because Pope got in there at the very end tail of everything happening in transfer portal such, but it would be a big boost to this program. It would help, the fans with, like I said, the uneasiness. Because, listen, a lot of people when Pope first got hired, they didn't think this would be a great hire. And I think everybody had to cool down. Calmer heads had to prevail. And I think that they've kind of, embellished
a whole lot of that was about recruiting. That's what a whole lot of it was about recruiting at Kentucky. But you also brought up the name Jason Hart. And while we're talking about coaching hires, he has hired Jason Hart. Jason Hart played at Syracuse. He was the lead recruiter for USC for about 8 or 9 years at USC.
What was it? Evan Mobley was one of his.
Yep. And the last 3 years, he's been the head coach of the G League Ignite.
Chris asked a question here. He said, if you are a Kentucky fan, don't you want to shy away from NBA-style coaches? Former NBA players as coaches have proven not to be very good. And if you want to change the culture from one and done, why bring a guy from the NBA?
I'm not sure who he's talking about here. Who's he talking about bringing a guy from the NBA?
He's talking about Jason Hart. Like he was with G League. Like he coached some NBA guys.
Well, I mean, he coached guys that were trying to get to the NBA. The G League Ignite people team is basically their version of college. They haven't been drafted yet either. It was basically their version of college.
I agree with that, Mike. He said the NBA guy would tell these players need to stay in college if they need college. And I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, but what I'm saying is Jason Hart coached the top level guys that was trying to get to the NBA. That's the guys he coached.
See,
the same as top level guys of college.
Here's the thing that I think Kentucky needs from a coaching perspective. Say you pull a couple 5-stars, two freshmen that are one and done guys. You bring those guys in, and then you move around in the portal, and you get 4 or 5 guys that are experienced and seasoned veterans. You know, UConn did that. Kansas has done that. You know, that's the way the game has changed, I think.
That's how it's got it. What Wireman's saying here is exactly right. You need a good mixture, Chris.
Yeah, you need
shying away from that is not really what Kentucky needs to do. If you want to stay at the top, you still got to get 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys.
Yeah, you can't just settle on one and then just go to the portal, because you got to have at least some talent to mix in with the veteran transfers and the older guys.
It's just we don't need 8 of them coming in as freshmen, which is what we were doing for the past several years.
Well, to be honest, it was a revolving door. You never really got to know anybody because it was always gone.
I mean, I'm serious. We had 6 to 8 of them year after year after year after year.
Anthony brings up a good point. Cal's problem was that he tried 7, 8 freshmen and couldn't figure out how to play them correctly. Well, you taken last year with Dillingham and Shepherd. Now, I know people's going to say, well, you know, why does it matter if they come off the bench? Well, it does matter because they're 2 top 10 picks, and they should be on the floor.
Wait a second, John. I'm going to tell you why it matters. Early in the season, when you are trying different things and different lineups and trying, it didn't matter as much, okay? But down the stretch of the season, when you are trying to build for March and for postseason play, all right? If you're not playing your best players, what happens and what happened to Kentucky this year, what happens is that you start the game off in the hole every time. And then you have to bring your players in and try to dig yourself out of that hole every game.
And people's going to say, well,
And then on top of that, then you have these players that are coming in that are digging the hole out to get some wins. But then they have to still say, okay, I'm better than these dudes, but coach won't play me and let us get the jump from the beginning.
Well,
and after a while,
look at the Tennessee game.
After a while, it wears on you and it starts bothering you as a player.
They did it at the remember the Tennessee game? But to be fair, Reed Shepherd went ballistic that game, and he didn't really have to have a lot of help. I mean, Dillingham hit some shots, but Reed Shepherd took that game over himself. And that's what and that even proves the theory that they should have been in there all year long down the stretch starting. Now, I understand that he has to look to his freshman with DJ Wagner. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to time to build for March, the tournament, SEC tournament, et cetera, you got to have the right players in that, lineup. Because if you don't, all it takes is one loss and you're gone. And that's what happened. Oakland took care of us and we was out. And unfortunately, we never really got to see the true Kentucky team that we wanted to see because it just never – you seen glimpses, but you never really saw the full product. And to be honest, that's sad because that team was probably the best team in the country at one point in the season.
I don't know if we was ever the best team in the country, but I'll tell you this much.
We was one of the best.
We had as much talent as any team in the country. The problem is that the talent was never put together right. I don't care what you have to put it together right. And if you don't put it together right, here's what happens. As the season wears, it falls apart.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Unfortunately.
And that's what happened. I mean, so, all right. Let's get off of that because all that is old news. And let's kind of get back to some stuff. So yesterday, there was some Jaden Quaintance news that come out last night that he was going to be visiting. He was going to let Mark Pope in-home visit tonight. There was also some news that he was looking into setting up an Arkansas visit last night. And then today, around noonish or so, it was dropped that Arkansas was out on the Jaden Quaintance. And they were not going to get a visit, and they were out. And then about 3 or so hours later, after that, there was news that Pope was out and that he was not going to get a visit as well.
And
so I want to hear.
There's rumors.
I've got something I have heard, but what all have you heard?
Man, I've heard everything. I've heard that Arkansas didn't want to give him what he wanted that other teams would give him. I heard that Kentucky did the same. I heard that somebody's going to drop a bag. Louisville or Memphis is going to drop a bag. I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like some of these numbers are inflated. I don't think some of this stuff that's coming out is true, but we don't know that. And, his dad denied the reports at one time. I think somebody had posted about it a while back, and his dad said that was not true. But there's too much smoke around all this. Like, I'll be honest with you, man. He's a 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid. And I have no problem with you wanting money, the whole image likeness thing. But there's something fishy about this whole thing. But I don't know if it's just me. There's just something that's not connecting with all this. Because many thought he would go to Arkansas. And Arkansas fans, and they said, well, we didn't need him no way. Well, many thought he was going there because Cal values freshmen more than anything. And many thought that that's where he would end up. And now when this came out, it started questioning like, well, what's going on here? And then Kentucky was going to get an opportunity to talk to him, and now they're out. So, and now it's looking like it's down to Memphis and Louisville, which I'm hearing more and more now that he's maybe possibly going to Louisville. Now that's the talk now. So,
well, on an outside shot, I have heard that Missouri may still be in the background in some of this. You know, that's who it was, Kentucky and Missouri. That's who it came down to the first time when he committed to Kentucky the first time.
mm-hmm.
But today, well, actually, a couple of days ago, I had heard through the rumor mill that they were looking for $1.5 to $2 million. This was before yesterday, before all these visits were set up and everything.
Well, and he's got a visit with Memphis this weekend. So,
yes,
it's possible he could pull the trigger this weekend.
Yes. So, but wait a second. Let me, so here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that it's quite possible. And I know that Arkansas fans are saying, well, we didn't need him anyway, or didn't want him, or he wasn't prioritized, or whatever. I know that there's some stuff going around, but that's not. Here's the real deal. Here's what I think might have really happened. So Memphis and Louisville seem to be ready to drop a bag and made some offers, both of them. Okay. And I think Arkansas and Kentucky, despite all this news that they would want to be in a bidding war and that Arkansas would outbid and all this, despite all this news, I think Arkansas and Kentucky bowed out on this 16-year-old kid. That's what I think happened. I think that's the reason why the news come out that the visits were, that he was eliminating Arkansas and that the Kentucky visit's not happening.
Well, I would agree with that, Chris. But he cannot go to the NBA because of his age. He has to go to college for 2 years.
He's only 16.
Yeah, he
still. He won't be 17.
Yeah, he's still 16. His age limit.
But the kid is just 16.
His age limit, I think.
He's not only got to play 1 year of college, he's got to play 2 years of college.
He's got to play 2 years of college because of his age limit.
He reclassified. He was really a 2025 kid.
Yeah.
He reclassified to come to Kentucky in November of last year.
Well, and to be fair, many just assumed when Cal took the job at Arkansas that he was just going to pack up and move, and then he done the whole decommitment, got out of his letter of intent for Kentucky.
Well, part of that's because he
kind of went through his process again.
Chris says he wanted to play for Cal, and that's why you can say whatever you want to if you're Arkansas. It's a miss. It's a miss. Cal clearly wanted him. They were clearly trying to get a visit set up with him. And either it's a miss or they bowed out because of money. And they're not going to say either one because they're trying to play this chicken and mouse game here with Kentucky over NIL money. And they're not going to claim that they bowed out of this.
Well,
but
and
I think that might be what happened.
And two, while we're on this subject, the beef between Kentucky and Arkansas fans is the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Is it beef or is it chicken?
Either one, either way you want to look at it. Like you've got Matt Jones.
Wyman says Memphis 100% on acquaintance. And I just got to put that out there.
Here's the thing. You've got Matt Jones going at Arkansas.
I'm going to hold you to it, Wyman.
You've got Arkansas fans firing back at Matt Jones. Like, this is the craziest stuff I've ever seen.
FedEx money is going to land acquaintance at Memphis, according to Wireman.
It's just, I don't know.
Vanderbilt has claimed the third largest NIL pool in the SEC for basketball. Okay, that's a little wild to think about. That Vanderbilt is doing that. Okay,
you got to consider they got a good coach now, and they got some things that are kind of moving around down there. They're doing a great job. Byington's going to be a great coach. I think Vanderbilt will be much improved. I wouldn't be shocked if Vanderbilt got back to the tournament next year, especially with the
Vanderbilt has always been a basketball school. I mean, I know they're good in baseball, and they're they always have a great baseball team as well. But in reality, they're more of a basketball school than anything. Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they was handed $7 million from Mark Cuban.
Okay.
So Vanderbilt has something to work with, I think. So
interesting.
But like I said, with this whole Arkansas-Kentucky beef, it's getting to the point to out of control. Like, you got media members fighting with other media members. You got Matt Jones fighting with Arkansas fans. Like, I
don't even understand why people get into all that stuff. I mean, I don't care. Listen, if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm hopeful and excited that we got a Hall of Fame coach that was at the top of the game 6 or 8 years ago. If I'm a Kentucky fan, which I am, if I'm a Kentucky fan, I'm glad we are not in the foolish gold business anymore. So, I get both sides of it. I mean, that's just the truth. All right. So other Kentucky stuff. There was news today of great Osavar going to schedule a visit with us. 2 or 3 days ago, there was talk that he might already go ahead and commit. But now, it looks like it's going to be a week or so before he is here on a visit.
Well, and I believe they got a couple that was supposed to come this week, but there's not been really a lot of new. And I say this to say this. Everybody's wanting a quick fix right now. Everybody's wanting commitments to just fly off the board, and it's not how it works.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Hammonds, because the way this is looking, I fully expect this thing to be drawn out for at least 2 to 3 more weeks.
At least till the first week of May, second week.
I think it's going to be 2 to 3 more weeks.
Yeah, and that's like I said today. People are panicking. People are saying, well, we're not getting any players. Well, this is the off season. This is the way it works. A lot of these kids are not going to commit on the fly. They're going to do their visits. They're going to do their due diligence, and it's just going to be a waiting game. And that's just the way it is. And the way the NIL works and how they're looking for deals and driving up money, this is just how the new transfer portal NIL stuff works.
I mean, another bit of news today was the BYU best player, Jackson Robinson, declared for the draft.
Yeah,
and Kentucky fans are kind of flipping out over this. Well
many expected that.
Jackson Robinson had planned to declare for the draft the entire time. He comes back, it'll be that extra bonus year.
Yeah, Mike, I heard that. He says there's players that hasn't entered the portal yet that Kentucky will be in the mix. Now, I don't know.
I've heard that, but
I don't really know who he's talking about. I've heard some different things, but I don't necessarily know who those are. But the portal don't close till what, May 1st, 2nd, May 1st. So they still got some time to figure things out. They got about a week.
Yeah.
So there's now I will say this. There's probably going to be a few more enter the portal before this weekend and next. There's going to be some more people enter the portal.
Well, there's over 1,800 people in the portal right now.
Yeah. So
Players.
there's pickings to get, but you don't want to strike out on some of these, because if you don't,
But Hammond, let's talk about this real quick. So there are a bunch of people in the portal, but how many of them would be a Kentucky caliber player is what I want to know. I mean, how many are going to come in here and be a Kentucky caliber player and not a mid pack of the SEC caliber player? That's what I want.
You've probably got maybe a handful, maybe at the least.
So even though we're sitting here and we are saying that it's going to take some time, the facts are that Kentucky's got to land a few of these bigger names and bigger kids.
I say this with the Drake Osabor, you probably got to get Kobe Bray. You probably need to get if Jackson Robinson backs out of his NBA thing, which I haven't really seen him on a bunch of mocks, that would be a big pickup. And then you would have to get maybe the small kid, maybe John L. Davis, and then you might need some depth pieces, some guys that come off the bench.
Which Kentucky's going to be a real factor. I agree with you, John. These are the guys that Kentucky's got to land. You got to land Kobe Bree. You got to land Great Osabar.
And then you get this kid Richie Saunders possibly. That's possibly to commit at any time. He's a depth piece off the bench that's really good. So
he's a depth piece.
That's a start. So
but the truth is that there is about 4 or 5 of these kids. John L. Davis, there is 4 or 5 of these kids that you almost have to land if we're going to be Kentucky caliber next season.
Yeah, you have to land. You have to
not
land
mid-pack SEC.
No. Not Georgia type.
Right.
You got to be able to draw some of these guys and get these guys to sign.
Yes. Now, having said that, I do think that some of these other pieces is possibly going to take a while. Jackson Robinson, he doesn't have to return to college till like May 29th. So we're talking well over another month.
Yeah.
That he has.
So it's this thing. I told people this. I'm not even just saying Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, all these teams, and even Tennessee. They got one guy, and they're looking at another one from Charlotte, I think, this week. But a lot of this stuff is going to go on up until June, and fans are just going to have to chill out. It's just it's going to be one of those deals, I think Auburn's already got. I think some of the guards that Auburn have already committed, I believe.
Yeah.
I think Donaldson went to.
Holloway did.
Holloway did.
The bigger ones that I can.
Yeah, I don't think Auburn has any more. I don't think in the portal, but they might.
Now, there's a couple of Alabama kids
that are rumored to be in the portal, but I don't know if they'll declare or.
Yeah,
or
there's a couple of Alabama kids that we could go after.
Yeah.
But I'm just putting stuff out there. Is there anybody else? Oh, Aiden Mahoney. I wanted to put his name out there.
Mahaney. Yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry.
No, you're good.
Mahaney.
I said it like that when I first knew who he was.
Well, I've never pronounced his name before, so sorry, Aiden Mahaney. So
Alabama, Chris. He went to Alabama.
St. Mary's point guard, averaged basically about 12 or 13 points and 3 and 3. And he's a guy that could be taking a visit. He is visiting UConn, Creighton, and Virginia, and he could be trying to take a visit to Kentucky. He's a guy that we might be after. You
Mike,
know,
Jonas Adu, he's visiting Arkansas this weekend, but
he-
there's rumors that wouldn't say there's rumors. There's actually concrete stuff that's said that he's a lock to go to Baylor. So I don't know. Really. It just all depends on what kind of breaks down over the next week. But here's what I'm going to say about the whole Kobe Bray thing and the Liam McNeely thing. Everybody's wanting to know about Liam McNeely. I think that UConn gets Liam McNeely, but I don't think they get Kobe Bray because they're not going to get one or the other.
They kind of place a similar position.
Position. So either, UConn gets Liam and Kentucky ends up getting him. And I'm not sure about the whole Duke smoke. It just all depends on how Duke wants to do things with Cooper Flagg and that group coming in. But I think Kentucky's got a real good shot with Kobe Bray, though.
I do too. I feel like right now, I feel like they have a pretty good shot with Kobe Bray. I don't know if we get him, but I feel like we got a good shot.
Yeah.
Other bigs that I'm hearing, of course, Andrew Carr from Wake Forest, Brandon Garrison.
He's actually slated to visit. What is it, next week?
Brandon Garrison.
No, it might be this week.
Yeah, Brandon Garrison.
It might be this week. It might be this weekend next.
Brandon Garrison is a 2023 McDonald's All-American.
Well, and Brandon Gardner, a former 4-star recruit for USC, put his name in the portal today. That's another name to watch. So I don't know. Yeah. Oh, and the kid from Minnesota. Is it Elijah Harris?
Elijah Hawkins?
Hawkins, that's it. Hawkins,
I think is his name.
Hawkins is a name to watch for Kentucky. So
yeah. He actually has led the Big Ten in assists, 7.5 assists a game, point guard.
So there's some interesting names out there. So Kentucky's going to be all right. They just want to – it's just a waiting game. It's just a wait and see what happens. So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on the whole McNeely.
Yeah, he's
thing.
He's probably most likely going to UConn. So,
yeah. All right, so I'm going to switch to Kentucky women's real quick, and I'm going to keep this kind of quick. But Talia von Olenhofen, I got to say her name, and I hope I just said that right because I just messed up Aiden Mahaney's name. So, anyways, but she is an Oregon State guard, 5'11", and she would be a very, very, very cool fifth-year senior running mate with Georgia Amore, and would give Kenny Brooks a 10th player. He's still working on his roster as well. There's 9 players, 2 returning, 1 that is coming in on the team, Becker, that was a Kyra Elsie commitment. He is keeping that girl as well. She's Canadian.
And I don't think people know this, though. They might have seen it on KSR, but Rondo had FaceTimed her.
Yes, she visited on Saturday, and Kenny Brooks set up a FaceTime with Rajon Rondo because Rajon Rondo is one of her idols.
Yep.
And it was a really cool little deal. She posted pictures about it on her Instagram and Twitter pages. I know at least those 2. And she is also considering USC, Louisville. She visited Louisville over the weekend as well, and Colorado. So she's down to those 4, and she posted a picture yesterday of her Louisville and Kentucky visits, and I am hoping to hear some good news. We would love to have Talia.
And to be fair, Chris, I get what you're saying.
Kentucky Wildcat for a season and play with Georgia.
He says, I'm sorry I have to laugh at UK women, all this talk. I have to see it before I believe it. They have been terrible. There's no doubt they've been terrible, but at the same time,
I'm telling you,
they're getting them.
I'm telling you, this team is going to be a top 20 team. Mark it down.
Yeah, mark it down. They're going to be good.
Mark it down. You can laugh all you want, but I'm telling you, I've been following them for over a year now. I'm not talking about just following them. I've been covering them for over a year now. And I'm telling you, this team, what Kenny Brooks is putting together is pretty astonishing. I only wish that Mark Pope could put together this. And to go back, if you look it up, go to Rise Up Sports Media. And there is an article there about each player. And these are some impressive players that Coach Kenny Brooks is putting together here. And if he can get Talia von Ohlenhofen to join, I'm telling you, this is going to be one special team and a special backcourt to go with a lot of bigs. You can say what you want, but I'm telling you, Kentucky is going to be a top 20 team.
Shay Ralph's a good coach. I'm not going to deny that. She's a great coach.
100%. I'm telling you right now, he's putting together a really, really fun team in Kentucky, and they are going to be a team in the SEC that is going to be a top 20 team.
Now, they might not win the SEC, but they'll be fun to watch.
I didn't say they're going to win the SEC.
No, I said they might not win it, but they'll be fun to watch is what I said.
Yeah. So the NFL draft is this week as well. 2 nights from tonight, actually, is the NFL draft. And I was going through some stuff and trying to do a little bit of stuff today and looking up for the NFL draft. And I was looking up Kentucky players. And there's 7 guys off of Kentucky teams last year that is hopeful, and 5 that is on mock drafts. And I found that pretty interesting that there's 5 guys off of this team. You know, Kentucky's had some pretty good luck over the last 5-6 years with getting guys to the NFL.
Yeah.
And Stoops has done a really good job with that. And I'm looking forward to seeing where some of these guys go. I'll list a few of them for you if I can remember them off. The top guy that might come off in round 2,
Andrew
and
Phillips.
I heard reaches as high as the bottom of round 1, but most likely he'll be round 2 is Andrew Phillips.
Yep.
And then you've got, Trevin Wallace, the linebacker, Trevin Wallace. You've got Ray Davis. Devin Leary is projected in the 3rd or 4th round.
Well, and you got Jeremy Flax and possibly
Tavion Robinson. Tavion Robinson is projected in the 6th or 7th round.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Jeremy Flax and Brendan Bates.
Devin Leary, they said there was some positive signs with him, but he's got to improve. He's got to improve some of his accuracy.
I seen going through some of this, I seen where he could be as high as the 4th round, in the 4th round or something for Leary, which wouldn't be a bad deal for
right.
him.
Here's the thing that I've been saying for a long time up until he declared is that Ray Davis is going to be a solid pick for somebody. He's going to be an underrated.
Y'all have no idea. I am so hoping for the best for that kid. He has been through so much in his life. And if you don't know the story, look it up. But he's been through so much in his life. And for him to be at this point in 2 or 3 days where he could hear his name in the NFL draft, and 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 redefine his life, is a pretty big deal. So
I'm with you, Chris. His knee concerns me, but he's not one of those guys that just bends over. He's not a quitter. There was a couple games. What was it last year, Brad? Games he could have set out, and he played through all kinds of pain. And he's tough. He's tough as nails when it comes to playing football. And I think whoever gets him, whether it be a UDFA, whether it be a
he's going to get drafted. He's not going to be
somebody's going to take a chance on
him. He's being projected as a 3rd or 4th rounder. Can't imagine him being a UDFA.
No,
as a 3rd or 4th rounder.
I don't think he will be either. But
I mean,
but if he was, somebody would take his chance on him.
Absolutely, man. He's a great kid. Been through a ton in his life. Homeless, parents in jail. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to know about Ray Davis. And out of all the names that we could hear in the NFL draft, he's the one that I'm looking forward to hearing the most, is Ray Davis.
Tim Brandstetter made a good point. Brendan Bates will be a surprise player. He is a beast and works hard. I expect him to have a long career. I do too, Tim. I've always liked him. Always liked his work ethic. I think somebody will pick him up. Not sure he'll go 2nd round, but he could be around that 4th round pick, and somebody will take their chance on Bates. He's a great player. Always played tough for Kentucky. Always gave 100%, and hopefully some of these guys get drafted. Even Jeremy Flax. I said it. Jeremy Flax didn't have the greatest year last year, but the guy did all he could.
He improved a lot last year.
What I'm saying,
it was 2 years ago where he struggled.
2 years ago, really bad. He improved his game. That's what I was trying to get at. It wasn't as great, but it was still improved to what he was 2 years ago.
Oh, he's a really good pass blocker. He's not. He was this past year. 2 years ago, he got some whiffs.
He got blown up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he's going to have a chance. He'll be a UDFA. And I think it's possible, Tim, that Brendan Bates will be as well.
I got a final buzzer. If you want to do that.
All right. I don't even know if I have it listed on here anymore or not. Yeah, I do. I just hadn't used it for a while. There it is. We'll get to it. All right. So, college football transfer portal news. On the Kentucky side, Penny Boone is being rumored as a crystal ball pick, heading to Kentucky. Georgia is the other school that was thrown out today, but Georgia got NTM or whatever his name is from Florida.
ETN.
NTN. And I would say that they're not really looking for.
There's too many. There's too many in front of him.
Yeah, I'd say they're really not looking for the guy. I think he might be a cat.
And Damian and the whole Damian Martinez thing, I think, is more about a bag than it would be.
I think so too.
I think Miami's going to be the eventual pick there.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's going to be Miami as well for Martinez. But Penny Boone had over 1,400 yards in the MAC last year. Transferred
had a heck of a season at Toledo. Toledo. He tore it up there. So he's going to be. And see, the thing about people don't realize, Bush Hamda, he's not a one guy committee. He goes from 2 to 3 guys, and he's going to open up the offense and do things differently than Liam Cohen did. And I
I
think,
mean, that's the way we used to run. We used to run two backs. I mean, we had Snell and Boom Williams, and I mean, we used to run two backs.
well, and now you got, and another thing with the portal, you got Dylan Edwards in the portal now from Colorado. So there's a lot of smoke there with Louisville. I don't know
We had
how much that's
Benny
going.
Snell and Chris Rodriguez.
Yep. So
I mean, not too long ago as well. So I mean, you can run two backs.
the Dylan Edwards kid, I was telling you from Colorado, is going to get a lot of. He's going to get a lot of pub. There's a lot of smoke with Louisville right now. Don't know how much that truly, how much is going around, but
A couple of four-star kids from Kentucky has put their name in the portal. A wide receiver and a defensive back, cornerback. So, but they were down the depth chart. Kentucky football is changing when they are losing four-star recruits that are down the depth chart.
that's where I wanted to go with the final buzzer, with the host Shamar Porter and such. I feel like people are kind of overreacting to this too much, because people don't realize that Kentucky's got, Hadley Gilmore, they got Barry and Brown, they've got Dane Key. There's a lot of guys in front of these guys that are, and they're buried on the depth chart, and a lot of them ain't going to see the field. Now, I wouldn't say they wouldn't see the field. They might see one or two snaps, but they're not going to get overall snaps like some of these other guys that are in front of them are. And I think that's where some of them have put their name into the portal and kind of trying to find other places to go. But I am surprised at the Jeremy Anglin thing. He was the talk of the spring game.
He picked off a pass and run it back to the end zone there late in the game.
There's something. This portal has absolutely. It's like the Wild Wild West. I just don't know. I mean, he had a great spring, and just all of a sudden he's in the portal.
Well, but now he's not going to be a starter. That's even though he had a great spring game, one of the first things that was asked, Mark Stoops basically said that he's got some work to do because he's down the depth chart. And apparently he don't want to have to wait down the depth chart and work his way up or whatever. I'm not exactly sure.
I wouldn't say I'm upset, but I'm really shocked at the Porter news, because I felt like Porter could contribute, but apparently he feels like he can go somewhere else and do good. And whatever he does, I wish him the best.
Again, Shamar Porter, he's a 4-star kid, and Anglin is a 4-star kid. And one's a receiver, one's the DB. That, Kentucky fans are, they see 4-star kids and like, ooh, that's going to hurt. Well, I'm telling you guys, Kentucky football is at a different place when they're losing 4-star kids because they're down the depth chart.
Yeah.
Because 10, 15 years ago, if they lost a 4-star kid to a transfer, it was because they wanted to go somewhere else and shine. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing too, people don't understand the aspects of all this either, is that this wide receiver room is filled up to the gills, and it's going to be hard to see the field at all, if any snaps.
I mean, the top 5 or 6 are pretty much set, and Porter wasn't in that, even though he's a 4-star kid. Yeah. Now, I will say this, while we're talking about Final Buzz and we're talking about Kentucky football here with some stuff. Are there any concerns with you on the Penny Boone stuff? We were talking about 4-star kids and being down the depth chart. There is 2 4-star kids, freshmen, in the running back room. And Kentucky is talking about bringing in another running back here with Penny Boone, and looked at Martinez. Or do you think they should give one of these 4-star running backs a shot?
I think here's what I think. I think if they get Penny Boone, you might see a running back enter the portal. Now, I don't know if that will happen, but you might see it because I think LeVar Wright he's already put himself in the portal, if I'm not mistaken, for Kentucky. I think it was the other day. I think that's right. LeVar Wright. Let's see.
Yeah.
I think it was right. Lavelle Wright. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I think Lavelle Wright.
But he's not one of the running backs I was talking about.
Yeah, he entered the portal, Lavelle Wright.
Yeah, but I was talking about Peterson and Wilcox. Let's see who I was talking about.
I don't know. Wilcox,
They were both 4-star kids.
Here's the thing about it is Wilcox and Peterson are probably locks to stay. It might be your other guys the guys that are sharing minutes that might just. That's my take. Because
you bring in Penny Boone, does one of those 4-star kids hit the portal? That's what I want to know.
It's possible, possibly. It just all depends on how it all.
I think it's possible. I really do. And I really hate to lose because we haven't got to see either one of them.
I'm going to say this about Wilcox. Wilcox is an absolute stud. I watched him in high school. He can flat.
He is.
He can run
and
over
they say Peterson all spring has been impressive.
Yeah. So you would hate to lose one of those guys to the portal, but that's the way the game is now. And when you're picked over on the depth chart, that's the way things go. And sometimes it's part of it. Like I said, it's part of this whole NIL portal stuff. People's going to go where they need to get paid and where they're going to have playing time.
My point in all this was, at what point do you start developing your 4-star kids to try to get them in and develop their talent? I get that Chris here is saying stars don't matter. They kind of do, but you have to still develop them.
You do.
I mean,
here's my biggest concern with going forward with Kentucky football. Every year it seemed like we go through the portal at the quarterback position, right? We've had Devin Leary. What was the guy before him? Will Levis. I think at some point Kentucky's going to have to develop their quarterback position because they can't keep going back and forth.
They brought in Boley.
So
and they got 2 quarterbacks coming in next year. I think pretty soon you're going to have to, you got Stone Saunders coming in next year, and another one. I'm trying to think of his name right now, but there's 2. I think they're going to have to start playing and developing their quarterback.
Here's my last question to this. Mike says, why recruit these players if you're going to recruit over them? Well, sometimes things happen where you can't control. Playing time. They get there.
I have the same questions, Mike, when it comes to this running back room here. You got 2 kids that are impressive 4-star kids, and you're still out here looking for the top of the line running backs when you already brought in Chip. You already brought in one from Ohio State.
I think there's worry there that they'll not be able to contribute the way that they want to be, is my opinion.
Now, I will give you this. One is a freshman, that's Peterson, and one is going to be a redshirt freshman, and that's Wilcox.
Yeah, throwing them in there right off the bat. That's probably another thing too. But they got to get their feet wet eventually. They just can't sit on the bench. They got to figure out how to play. So,
yeah. So, I mean, you didn't just bring in one transfer running back. Now you're looking at bringing in a second transfer running back. And what does that tell these 4-star kids? Now, Chris, I fully get it. I mean, you have to work, but I'm telling you right now, the Peterson kid was one of the talks of the spring on how well he looked as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So the kid was working.
Some of them do, some of them do, Chris, and some of them don't. Some of them come in and they're great to work with, and then there's some, like you said, that just get lazy and they don't want to put the work in, and that's not on the coaches, that's on them. Because if you're not willing to work, especially under Stoops is one of those guys that wants to work and get the best out of his talent, develop those guys. But at the same time, you can't make guys do what Stoops wants them to do. And I think that's why you see some of them in the portal, you see some leave, and that's just the nature of it.
I just wanted to touch on it, especially
Thanks,
while
Tim.
we were talking about 4-star kids from Kentucky.
Oh, and while we're at it,
and being down the depth.
And while we're at it, I'm just going to pull a plug while we're here. If you haven't got a chance to go see Wildcat Sports Talk, please do. I'm always trying to uplift other podcasts and other things. Go follow them, Wildcat Sports Talk. That's Tim Brandstetter and Adam Webb. So I gave you a plug, Adam, or Tim. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's Tim.
That's Tim. Yeah.
I appreciate you being here, Tim. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you being here, Tim, and commenting and all that. So, anyways, guys, that is basically going to wrap up our show tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those things with the football team as well. And I do have one more thing here that I want to plug. So on Friday night this week, we are going to have a former Kentucky basketball player here on our podcast. Jonathan Davis is going to be our guest on Friday night here at College SportsCast. So we're going to have a special here. Jonathan Davis was recruited by Eddie Sutton and played for Eddie Sutton, and also was one of the, I'm almost certain, 8 players, scholarship players, that stayed through all the turmoil and probation and everything that went on, and was on the first Rick Pitino team, the 89-90 Rick Pitino team. He was on that team and was a contributor to that team for the very first Rick Pitino team. And for a lot of these younger Cat fans, the very first Rick Pitino team was not even on TV. They were banned from TV for 2 years, which is unthinkable nowadays.
Yeah.
But, I mean, unthinkable.
You normally see Kentucky on TV, and back then there was.
Well, I mean, for anybody to get a ban for TV, because that's revenue.
Yeah,
like,
it's revenue.
How in the world somebody survives and makes it when, I mean, but they were literally banned from TV for 2 years.
Chris makes a comment. Isn't that the last team to go unbeaten in the SEC?
What's that?
That Pitino team.
No. This is the very first. The very first Pitino team.
The very first Pitino team
was a 500 team, guys, and they had 8 players is all they had. And Jonathan Davis.
And I think during that year they lost Sean Kemp. They lost Derek Miller,
Chris Mill, Eric Manuel, Ellis went to Syracuse. Can't remember his first name. LaRon, I think. LaRon Ellis went to Syracuse. I mean, they went everywhere. Okay, and all the best players, and Kentucky was left with Sean Woods, Reggie Hansen, Pelfrey, Feldhouse, Richie Farmer, Jonathan Davis was one of them.
And there was another, I can't remember.
There was only 8. I'm pretty sure there was 8 players. But anyway, this was the very first team. They wound up going 14-14. They only got to play regular season games. They didn't even get to participate in the SEC tournament. They were shut out for the SEC tournament for 2 years. They went 14-14 and played Patino's Bombinos. That's what their nickname was that year.
And I will add on this, he has some interesting comments about the whole Calipari situation. So maybe he'll make a little
Kentucky
statement.
was near death penalty with the stuff that they got back when Patino was hired. I mean, it was close. Like revenue was cut.
He made some comments about the whole Calipari thing. He actually retweeted one of my posts.
Yeah,
he made some
Jonathan
comments.
Davis is, and that's how we got him on the show. So, you know, we're looking forward to Jonathan being here. If you are a fan, join us, because I think this show is probably going to be a little catchy, because he's got some thoughts on the way the program was handled during the Calipari era. And I think you guys are going to want to tune in for Jonathan Davis being here on College Sportscast, and we're looking forward to that. And that's going to be Friday night, April 26th at 9 Eastern time. So we look forward to that, guys.
Appreciate you, Chris. Chris said y'all do a good job. Appreciate you. I said we appreciate you, Chris.
Yeah, man. Appreciate everybody being on with us.
Yeah, Mike. They brought Mashburn in, and they called him Monster Mash, and he delivered. Yeah. He delivered. One of my favorite players.
Mash was brought in 91.
My favorite UK player of all time, Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you on Friday night. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.